welcome to another Eclectic Enchantments inspired by jewellery tutorial. Today we're looking at the 1910s and I've chosen a design that inspired me, that I found on Pinterest again, and it's circa 1910 silver filigree bracelet, which you can find a picture of in my post, and this is what we're going to be making today. It's made up of various different sections, which I'll go into in a minute, and it's got a really lovely antique feel to it. I've used antique bronze, Swarovski and acrylic flowers, and it's got kind of a Game of Thrones vibe about it, if I show you there, and it just sits really nicely, and it's got a lot of movement about it, which is something that I really like. So this is what we're going to be making today. Let's get started. So for this project we're going to need some chain, you're going to need some jump rings in two different sizes, large ones and some slightly smaller ones. You can see the difference there. Okay, you're going to need a number of little flowers, and these can be whatever design you want. They don't have to be flowers, they're just what I've picked. I've got some 4mm bicones that I'm using for the centre of the flowers and the detail in the edges. You'll need a clasp, and you will also need some some head pins and some 6mm gauge wire and some 1mm gauge wire. You're also going to need some flat nose pliers, some round nose pliers if you'd like, or you could have a second pair of flat nose pliers, and some wire cutters. So here you can see the different sections that make up each piece. And if I just show you, this is the full piece that makes up one section of the bracelet. As you can see, it's made up of two of these pieces and one of these. And the flower central piece here is made up of these three components, and each of the two triangular pieces is made up of these three components, and this is one piece of wire, as is this. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make up each of these sections and the flower, and then show you how to put them all together. The first thing that you need to do is to fold the 1.5 inch strip of wire in half. And you can do this with your hands, you can measure it, it doesn't have to be perfect. Once you've done that, it will look a bit like a U. What you need to do next is to just accentuate the point. So I shall try and keep my hands down so it doesn't go too blurry for you. And just gently squeeze the tip into place and then flatten. The next thing that you need are your round nose pliers, and all you need to do is to take your round nose pliers and grip the very end and just twist. Oops. And just twist. Now, because it's 1mm wire, it's going to be a little bit tough on your hands, but you should end up with a nice little circle. Now you can mark your pliers with a Sharpie or a permanent marker or some tape so that you can get all the circles exactly the same. But the little loops, if you do them right at the edge, they're all going to come out the same. So if you do a second one, just twist that around. There we we go. And then all you want to do now is to just straighten the loop. So just put your pliers into the edge, into the centre of the loop, sorry, like so, and then push it back on itself, and then just gently pry apart that, and then all you need to do is you can just straighten that out a little bit, and that gives you the other half. And this part is this other triangular piece, which is really a smaller version of the larger one, and for this you need a 0.75 inch length of 0.6mm wire. Obviously if you're going to do it in different sizes, that's perfectly fine, you do it whichever size you want, but these are the sizes that I've used. Again, you just need to fold this in half, much easier, to give you the U shape, and gently pry it apart again. And this time you want the little holes, the little loops, to go inwards. So instead of twisting out, we're going to grip it in the same place and just twist forward, and just gently move the pliers as you do it until you get a full loop, and then squeeze, and do the same on this side and squeeze. It doesn't matter if they don't come out wonderful, because you can always use the flat nose pliers to just tidy them up a little bit. I'm sorry if there's a slight change in the lighting here, but I just broke one of my lamps. For this section you need to keep the 0.6 wire on the reel, and you want to take the small U and the Swarovski bead. We're going to be making this section first, so you thread on through the first loop, then you thread on your Swarovski bead, just trim the end off, just like so, and then we want to thread on the other side. So you've now got the small triangle with the bead in the centre. You want to then take your round nose pliers and just twist away from yourself, around and under, to create a loop. If you turn it to the side you can see the loop there. Now what you want to do is open it like you would a jump ring, like so. Take your large triangular piece and slot it on at the point, and then close your loop. Now you need to arrange it before you do the next bit. So what you're aiming for is for the underside of both this loop and these loops to be matching. So you need to just twist around your larger triangle until you get it quite in the right position, which is there. Now it's not quite large enough, so we're just going to put our pliers in the holes and gently pry it apart a bit more. And now you can see that it fits neatly. Hold that side in place, and all you want to do now is to take this end of the wire and just wrap it around. Take your cutters and trim it off, and that gives you one half of your section. Head pin, another Swarovski bead, and if you're doing a flower like I am, I've got a little acrylic, clear acrylic flower that just nicely frames the Swarovski bead. just in case you're not sure, a head pin is the one with a little ball, or it's got a flat end on it. It could have stars or hearts, anything, but it hasn't got a loop. The ones with the loops are actually called eye pins. Okay, so to do the flower, what we're aiming for is to have what looks like a flower on a stem. And if you turn it over, you can see on the back there's a little figure of 8 which secures it in place, and it also gives me the ability to attach it to each of the sections. Take your head pin and you want to thread on your Swarovski bead, and then thread that through the centre of the flower, and then turn it over. And now what you want to do is to just do a sharp bend, just fold it over so it's a bit like a pinwheel. Okay, now all you need to do is to take your round nose pliers again and just pinch the wire as close to the hole as you can get it, where the wire's coming out, and wrap it around all the way past where the wire started, the end of your pliers. I'm hoping you'll be able to see that there. And take the pliers out, and then if you put one end back in but have the other end below, and then twist the wire around again, it won't go all the way round because of how the pliers are. So take it out again, pop it back in, and just finish twisting, and that gives you your figure of 8. And then all you need to do is to snip that off. Take your flat nose pliers and just give that a gentle press just to secure it in place. Before I carry on, I just want to mention the bits that you discarded from the end of the head pins, don't throw them away because we're going to need those. Just put them to the side. Next you need 2 of the smaller jump rings, and what we're going to do is connect the flower to the top and to the bottom. First of all, what you want to do is to take your jump rings and open them. And when you open a jump ring, you always open it away from you, as if you're opening a door. Don't ever pull them apart because they become disfigured and they're no longer viable. So just put it away or towards you, whichever is easiest. The next thing that you want to do is to take one of your sections with the small V pointing down and thread on one jump ring so that it's hanging. Take your flower, and you want to make sure that the flower will be facing forward so that you thread it on the right way. And then all you need to do is to thread through 1/2 of the figure of 8 and then close the jump ring nice and tight, and that gives you the first half done. And then take your second jump ring and you want to repeat exactly the same process. Loop it on there, find the right side that you want to loop the flower on, hook the jump ring through the other side of the figure of 8 and close the jump ring, leaving you with one completed section. The next part of the process is going to be connecting these sections to the rest of the bracelet. Here we have an almost completed section, and what we need to do is to connect excuse me, is to connect this piece to the end here using jump rings, and then connect the final piece on. And it's much the same as how we just connected the top and the bottom to the flower. you need a jump ring in each of the loops that we created on the large triangles, and just open up your jump ring as before and thread on through the loop of the triangle that will be next to it in the bracelet, and then close, and that connects the top half. And this is where it's a little bit trickier, because what you've got to now do is make sure that the bottom half is lined up with the top half, like so. So what we need to do again is to undo this jump ring, one here, and thread it through this loop. Next, you'll notice that in between each section, just to give it a little bit more stability, there's a small bar, and these are the pieces of the head pins that we discarded earlier. And all we want to do is to create a bar that's got a loop on each end. So simply take the bar, grip it with the pliers and twist, thereby creating another loop. Then all you want to do is to connect it onto the jump rings in the centre of each section at the back, as you can see there, so that the underside is facing the back of the bracelet. Next, we're going to try and construct the bracelet together, and as you can see from this other half that's going to create the top part of the bracelet, there's chain at each end, and to connect this, all we do is take our jump ring, remembering that we need to add our bar in as well. So thread the bar on, add the jump ring to the triangle, and just simply add the chain over the end and close the jump ring. So now we have the top and the bottom part of the bracelet, and as you can see, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 along the top, or the bottom, whichever way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along the bottom. I've added a piece of chain at each end and aligned them like so. So the next part that we're going to want to do is to connect them all together and add the clasp. I'm using a simple toggle clasp. The way that I'm going to connect it all together is with one jump ring like this side, just connecting all 4 strands and doing exactly the same on the other side. 6 rings down on the chain, so just take another of the large jump rings and then loop it through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just each link and close. Once you've done this with each side of your chain, you then just need to attach your clasp. I'm using a simple toggle clasp here, and it's just really very simple. Just use a jump ring for each end and connect the jump ring onto the loop of your toggle clasp and thread each of the chains through the end link. And finally, close the jump ring again, leaving you with your toggle on. and do the same at the other end. And this gives you your finished bracelet.